Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Happiness Journey with Dr. Dan podcast, where every journey is worth living. My name is Dr. Dan, and I'm your host for today's episode. I'm a bilingual neurolinguistic programming and cognitive behavior psychotherapist specializing in anger management issues, both court-appointed and private, marriage counseling using the EFT method, dissociative disorders, narcissistic personality disorders, depression, anxiety, dream analysis, and also provide life business and retirement coaching support. I provide individual one-on-one session in both French or English, and also do group settings. If you need any assistance, reach out to DMV therapy and coaching services at 301-325-1550, and our website can be found on lifecoach.drdanamzallag.com. Today, I'm very excited to have for our 7th episode of season 14, a special guest, author of Higher Road and expert speaker, D. Neil Elliott. And just like every of my past episode, I will leave it up to the guests to properly introduce themselves, as no one can do a better job. Neil, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you, Dan. It's a pleasure to be here. Okay, quick introduction. So born in 1960, professional engineer with an MBA, worked in the hydroelectric industry for 34 years. And from 2002, I was in employment, gainful employment. And then in 2002, I went into consulting, owned my own consulting practice, and that's very successful. And from 2002 to 2015, I slowly drove myself unknowingly, unbeknownst to me, but I slowly had these behaviors of thinking and feeling that slowly drove me into this place of really dark, deep, dark depression. And in 2015, I knew I was there. And we're all great actors in our environment, right? We wear this facade. We can project whatever we want to family, friends, clients. And so no one knew I was in that state, but I did. And I wouldn't have called it depression at the time. I would have called it more just angry with the world and not happy with my life. But really, it was depression. And so I thought at the time, I need to do something to get out of this state I'm in. So I picked up some spiritual books, newly issued. I picked up some science books, and I tried to figure out, how can I get out of this place? And I spent a couple of years doing that, and was not successful. Our house had been on the market for 5 years, and in November 2017, early November, we finally had a signed deal to sell our house. Now, it wouldn't be possessed until possession didn't happen until the end of January or early February, but, at least we had a deal where it was signed. It was locked and sealed. My wife got on a plane to travel to Toronto, Ontario, Canada, to visit family, friends. We were in this little 1-bedroom rental apartment. I sat down at the kitchen table, crafted my suicide note, planned out my suicide for about 3 months to ensure my wife we could help move, I could get rid of stuff, and that my wife would be financially okay. And but a week prior to that, some information had fortuitously come to me, and it promised to liberate me from my thinking if I studied it and I followed it. And I thought, well, being the engineer, okay, what I'll do is I'll push out the date. I'll give this one last go, because I really was looking for any sliver of hope to kind of keep going. But I tell you, I was totally done with life. It seemed like no matter what I did, no matter how much money I made, no matter what I owned, I was just totally, absolutely miserable. Whenever we went on vacation, I was happy. We had a great time. And, but as soon as I got back to real life, I was this misery. And so I thought, okay, I'll push out my suicide. I'll start studying this. If it doesn't take, I can always pull the trigger. And a year later, almost a year to the day, I woke up and my depression was totally gone. I was full of inner peace and love and joy. And I just viewed the world so differently, even though nothing had changed in my external environment. And I thought, wow, this is totally amazing. And still, I shared this with no one. I did this studying in private. And a month later, so 13 months after I began this process, and part of this process is you'll learn a meditation where you go into a really deep state of silence and stillness in your mind, and you raise yourself through these higher vibratory levels of consciousness. And I went into this meditation. I had two of them 2 days apart. Went into this meditation near the end of December 2018. And all of a sudden, this spiritual energy flowed in through the top of my head and it filled my body. And then it just totally enveloped me like I was suspended in a tank of water. It totally enveloped me in unconditional love. And it was so beautiful and so understanding. It's just like I wasn't judged for anything. And it felt totally supportive and loving. And I didn't care what anybody had done to me in the past. I didn't care what I had done. And I wanted to stay there forever. And I came out of that meditation. 2 days later, I had the exact same meditation. And at that point, I knew that this new knowledge I gained, this process I follow, brings us back to our truth, who we really are. And I wanted to share it from the rooftops, you know. And I thought, okay, well, I'll be looked at like an idiot if I do that, so I won't do that. Took me a couple years to figure out the best way to share this knowledge, this journey that I went on, was to write a book. And so I've written this book called A Higher Road: Cleanse Your Consciousness to Transcend the Ego and Ascend Spiritually. And I offer 7 steps for people to bring them to this state of inner peace, joy, love, abundance, and prosperity. And I can tell you, since that date, it's just life just gets better and better and better.
Wow. Is this a bit of this Stoicism philosophy by any chance, Neil, or it has? I mean, what did you study to be able to get this some sort of awakening that made you feel the way that you feel now and take yourself away from possible suicide?
Yeah. Did you say Sufism?
No, Stoicism.
Oh, uh, because I don't know the definition of that, I'm going to say no.
Okay. So what did you study? What did you study that made you change your perspective?
So let me tell you a little bit about the book, and I don't disclose this material, and I'm going to tell you why. My book is in 5 parts. So the first part's what you're going to learn. The second part is a really candid memoir to give people examples of the patterns of thinking and feeling that I adopted, believed were true, and that I reinforced over a lifetime, that brought every event and every experience into my life and created this place of misery and depression. And the third part of my book is a part in focused on consciousness, and it's designed in a way. It's part science. Well, it's mostly science, but it's designed in a way to bring everybody to a new understanding of what consciousness really is and bring everybody to the same level.
Okay.
Part 4 of the book, I share these new truths, and I share this blueprint document that I used to bring me to this new state of being. And in the 5th part of the book, I share my personal experience as I went through these 7 steps. And so my recommended way to read A Higher Road is read it cover to cover, understand the process in its entirety. If it resonates with you, go back and start with some of the science material, or start directly with step 1. And that depends a little bit on who you are and what your history has been. If it doesn't resonate with you, that's okay. I put the book on the shelf, reread it in 5 or 10 years, or pass it on to somebody else without any colorful commentary and let them discover for themselves whether or not this process will resonate with them and work for them. Because as you know, we can never accurately judge the inner reality of another person. Another person that's kind and affable and seems, successful in life, for example, they might be in entire misery inside, and we just don't know it because we're such great actors in our environment. Now, the reason I don't share this information up front, to answer your question specifically, is that I look back now and I go that the science material that I read was really laying a foundation for me to open me up to this place of curiosity and wonder and without prejudgment, so that when this other material arrived to me, I didn't judge it. I would have normally just discarded it and not read it. And so you need to be in this place of almost like a little child, full of curiosity and wonder without judgments. And if you can do that, you have the opportunity then to read this material, decide for yourself whether this is going to work for you. But I can tell you it is so logical, it is so rational, it is based in what we know in science today, and it will help you understand who we really are and where we come from. Now, you might not really be able to fully grasp it, but because it's based in what we know in science today, it'll fit logically with your current thinking, your current understanding of who we are, and it will help you bridge this gap between spirituality and science. And if you do that and then you follow the 7 steps, I can tell you, you can totally transform your life, no matter where you are, no matter how much you own, whether you live on the street, you live in a mansion, whether you're wealthy, you're poor, you're sick, or you're healthy. You can totally transform your life.
So how long? Yes. So how long did it take you to write this book, Neil? Did you write it when you detach yourself from the desire to commit suicide? Did you write it after you have mastered this process? Did you go and write as you learned? What was the whole timeline when it comes to completing this book?
Yeah, so good question. I started the book in late 2019 and I published it in 2020.
Well, that's okay. How many pages is the book?
Oh, 236.
230. Okay. So is it universally applicable to everyone who is going through similar issues that you did? Or are we talking about those dealing with addiction, dealing with a lot of different other issues that is not related to committing suicide? Or how does that apply or relate to a specific reader?
Because we don't know where we're here. So now I'm going to say something which might sound a little strange for some people, but we're really here through this evolutionary process of the soul. We come here in many lifetimes, in varying genders, varying colors of skin, varying places of origin, and all of these things are designed, different cultures. All of these things are designed to enable our soul to learn the lessons that it wants to learn through this evolutionary process of the soul to come back to our truth, our reality. And our reality is unconditional love. We come from unconditional love. We return to unconditional love. So in answer to your question, this book is applicable to everybody, regardless of what their issue is or whether they feel they don't have any issues. They're wealthy and they're just maybe not unhappy with some aspects of their life. But the key is that I couldn't tell you specifically it's this person or that person, because it's something that they will know when they read it and they understand, they go through these 7 steps. It will resonate with them in a way that they know it is right for them. And then if they follow it, I can tell you they can totally transform their life, but it's entirely up to them. Life is really, it's not about everything that's external to you. It's not your externalities. Life is really a journey within, and you have to, if you have to be willing to take this journey within, but you have to understand that, you need some concepts that fit with how you think. Like you put 100 people in a room, you deliver a message a particular way, it'll resonate with, say, 5% of the people. You deliver the exact same information, but in a different way, it'll resonate with another 5 people.
Yes.
And, you go through this process of having these varied message with the same information. You maybe make it to 60 or 65%, and the rest just aren't going to understand it anyway, no matter how you deliver it. That's just part of the process of where everybody is in their own personal journey. And so, I couldn't tell you specifically who this is going to resonate with, but I can tell you that if you are unhappy with your life in any way, shape, or form, give this a chance, because I can tell you if you go through it, you read it, you can make a choice, not for me, or, it totally can change your life.
But so that obviously is for a certain demographic in terms of those not dealing with any kind of mental illnesses or bipolar or schizophrenia or anything of that sort. So, but for the every mom and pop out there, those who actually are dealing with any kind of challenges, as long as they believe in the theory that's in that book and they know that they really want to change in their lives, then that will be probably applicable to them. But those who just kind of say, no, this is too good to be true or too easy to apply, then they will always find resistance to it.
And that is true. And I can tell you that the other thing I can tell you from my own experience is that we resist when we don't even know that we're resisting things.
Correct.
And so this material is designed in a way where if you read it, and as long as you can do it without prejudgment of what you're reading as, oh, this I don't believe or whatever, if you can keep that in abeyance, there's going to be things that resonate with you and go, oh, I can understand that. That's logical. That makes sense. That's rational. And if you do that and then you follow these 7 steps, which is includes a rinse and repeat, you're not going to read this material once and be done. You're going to go through this because every time that you read this blueprint document and you go through it slowly so that you can understand it, and you take these steps to do this meditation, whether you start with 10 minutes a day or not to scare anybody, but I meditate 90 minutes every morning without fail, regardless of what's going on.
Wow.
And I can tell you why, because when you go through this process, what you do is you raise your human vibrational level of consciousness. So our creator, whether you want to call it God or Yahweh, the Tao, whatever you want to call it. And by the way, I grew up agnostic. So I didn't grow up with any religion. I have no religious training. I have no other kind of training in this realm. I'm more of a scientist. If you can measure it, if you can observe it, you can measure it, you can calculate it. That's all good. And if you can't, I don't believe it. My life has changed. My life has changed now because I understand now that we're on this evolutionary process of the soul. And as we go through this, we are here right now to help everybody else and become this embodiment of unconditional love, to share and spread unconditional love to everyone and everything in your environment. And as we do this, we help other people become healed, if you will, and become these channels of unconditional love. And as we do that, we will eventually bring this whole world into this new era of love and peace. And so the more people that go through this process, you will unknowingly, as you're going through this process and you're having these inner changes yourself to view your world, you will start to, unbeknownst to you, start to silently affect other people in this positive way that are in your environment. And I think I might have missed your question, but it's a good point for a little segue here, just to throw something else in. So I want to give you an example of something. So during this pandemic here, down the street from us is this historic building, and you go up these large steps to go into the 2nd floor. That's how you enter the building.
Okay.
There was 2 women, so no one else on the street. There was 2 women. They were walking down the street, approaching the base of those steps. An elderly woman came out of the 2nd floor. She's at the top of these steps, and she's gesticulating, and she's really angry, and she points down at them and says, look, you can stare if you will, stare all you want. I don't care. Like really angry.
Okay.
One of the women at the base of the steps, she goes, oh my God, this woman's dangerous. She pulls out her cell phone. She says, I'm going to phone the police. She steps back. She phones 911. The other woman thinks to herself, I wonder if this woman's okay, if she needs help. And she reached out and she said, look, are you okay? Do you need some help? And as soon as the woman at the top of the stairs heard that, she calmed right down. She explained her story, and it was all logical and rational. The only difference between the experience that those 2 women had at the base of the stairs these patterns of thinking and feeling that they adopted as children and then reinforced over a lifetime to give them a perspective of the world. What you view is merely a reflection of your beliefs. You change your beliefs, you change the way you see the world. And so we come in, as this little child, we're born as a baby, and up to about age 5, and you can correct me wherever I'm wrong in this, up to about age 5, the brain does not develop to where the child can make its own choices. And so really this little baby is this little sponge, this embodiment of unconditional love that's just absorbing everything in its environment. It's absorbing its parents' emotions and its siblings' emotions and whoever it comes in contact with. It's absorbing the kinds of language people use. And I'm not talking about English and German, because yes, that's true. But it's more is it angry, denigrating, judgmental language, or it is loving and kind and considerate language. And really what's happening is that the subconscious programming is starting to shape and the personality of that little child, given the environment that they're in. So they come in with their own things, and then they get overlaid by this programming that starts to happen subconsciously. At age 5 or so, they can make their own choices. They end up going to school at age 6. They're learning from other people. They're having other experiences, etc. And they're shaping and honing and hewing their personality. They're programming their subconscious mind. As we grow from babyhood to adulthood, we think we're becoming versed in the ways of the world. But what we're really doing is we are shutting ourselves off from the light. We're shutting our souls off from connection to source. And we are letting our egos take control of our life and run our life in this push and pull mechanism of, I love chocolate cake and I love this person and I love that event. And, I need, don't want to go there. I don't want to travel there. I don't like that person. So we do this push and the pull. We attract everything that we like and we reject things that we don't like, to create this environment of safety, security, control. And in reality, what our purpose is in whichever lifetime it is, and now is a good time to do it, but our purpose is to start to undo these bondages of the ego, dissolve them, and let our souls gain mastery of our life. And as your soul gains mastery of your life, you start to become this embodiment of unconditional love, this channel of unconditional love to express that in your environment. You start to change how you see the world. You start to see things for what they really are. Your soul is equal to my soul. Your soul is perfect. It is unconditional love. My soul is the same, everybody else's soul. Anything that they are doing, anything that somebody is experiencing, they have created this event or this experience that comes into their lives to help their soul learn the lessons that they want to learn. And when you understand this process and this mechanism of the universe, and I can talk a little bit about that, but when you understand this, you can make a conscious choice to start to undo these patterns of thinking and feeling that you've embedded in your subconscious mind, and break it up and dissolve it and come back and realign it with where we come from. These principles and these things that are congruent with unconditional love. And when you do that, you start to change your life. You start to change how you view the world. You change what you believe, and you start to experience this prosperity, this abundance, this joy, this peace that comes to you. And I can tell you, you totally transform your life. And I can throw out another analogy here, unless you have a question.
Yeah, but I mean, it's unfortunate to see that a lot of people have taken so much of their past traumatic experiences as childhood, they brought into adulthood, they cannot just brush it off so easily, Neil. And because of that, yes, you may say that, well, that's why we have therapists out there, to be able to help them understand better what happened in the past, and it should not really representing them as of today, because things changes. their perception of the world changes. But if someone has been hurt, has been pain, has been beaten up, has been, whatever else happened to that person, it's very hard for them to be able to look at the world with a different perspective. So they're still taking those past memories into the present, and that defines them who they are, or this is what they want it to be, because this is more of their comfort zone to a certain point, due to the fact that this is what they're so accustomed to. So now you're presenting a complete different theory in which they have to reboot their brain and to be able to look at the world today and not as how it was 20 or 30 years ago, in which I agree that we could not take the past into the present. But again, how can you completely erase what happened to them?
So, a couple things here. One is that if you read my book, you will understand that some people would call my childhood pretty traumatic. And so you're going to understand that I came from something which, I experienced a bunch of stuff in my childhood. And I can tell you that if the things I experienced, if I can change my life, you can change yours. And the changes that happen happen slowly, imperceptibly, and unknown to you when you start to make this connection with source that then will flow in through you and start to help you make these changes. And when you get help from the universal to help you go through these changes happen slowly and imperceptibly. So it took me a year of studying, of doing this, but I did it based on, I built up a knowledge and a faith, so to speak, in terms of that this is going to make a difference. And I believed it. And then what I did is I followed it. And, this is really simple to do. The hard part is you have to deal with yourself. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be confronting some things that you believe to be true. So everything that you think is right or wrong, good or bad, true or false, the first thing I needed to learn, I learned these with some science books, is that what you believe as right or wrong, good or bad, true or false, are really just beliefs. And then by what you think, when you read some other books that I share with people, what you think can affect your biology. You can either bring health to your body, or you can bring illnesses to every cell in your body. And so when you start to understand these mechanics, and then you understand some stuff around neuroplasticity as well, which I describe all easy to understand. When you understand these mechanics, then you can say, well, if what I believe is not really true, then what do I need to rebuild? And it can cause me illness and pain and create all these bad events in my life. How would I change that in order to come back into alignment with where we come from, which is unconditional love? And then because all these principles are given to you about how you need to rebuild it and why and how you need to rebuild it, then you start to go through this process to go, okay, well, if these things are causing me the illness and they're not necessarily true, if I can change my beliefs, and this is how I go about changing my beliefs, and this is now the new construct with which I'm going to change those beliefs, and I'm going to do it over time, I'm going to do it slowly, but as you go through this process, these things will just come into alignment for you and will start to change this. So I'll give you another example. This body's like a rented vehicle for a lifetime. Yep. You come here, this body's a rented vehicle for a lifetime. And so when you come in as a little child, what you're doing is you're this vehicle, this self-driving car. You're programming the subconscious mind. You're programming the self-driving car. Then, you've got it all programmed. You're now an adult. The ego is in the passenger seat driving. The soul is bound down the ego is in the driver's seat driving. The soul is bound down in the passenger seat and can't really speak or intervene with what's going on. And the car is programmed. Your soul is driving along. It can make a conscious choice. But sometimes it's not thinking, and the self-driving car takes over. Okay, I'm going to go left. The ego in that moment goes, no, I'm going to make a conscious choice. I'm going straight. And the soul, by the way, in the passenger seat saying, no, go right, go right, go right. but it's bound down with these bondages and it cannot intervene or influence the ego. And so what you're going to do is you're going to go through this process where you're going to change this subconscious. You're going to unwrap and you're going to dissolve these bondages of the soul. You're going to get the soul to go over into the driver's seat and put the ego in the passenger seat, and you're going to change the programming in the car, in the self-driving car. And as you go through this process, you come back to being who you really are, which is this embodiment of unconditional love. And when you come back to this point, all you want to do is share that and help other people do the same.
Beautiful. So where can people find your book?
Book is available wherever books are sold. On Amazon, you order it in a bookstore, and it's available globally. It's available in hardcover, paperback, and in ebook. All the favorite forms: Apple, Nook, Kobo, Kindle.
And since this is like more of a universal topic, is it translated in different languages or just English?
It's only in English at the moment, and I'd love to have somebody translate it into other languages.
That's definitely another journey in itself. Well, Neil, on that note, that is all the time that we have for today's podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your very busy schedule to join us. And thank you again for participating and inspiring our many listeners with your incredible story. Now, we hope that you've all enjoyed today's episode. I'm also very excited about the many upcoming guests that we have scheduled for season 14 of the Happiness Journey podcast, filled with inspirational stories just like the one that you listened to today. Now, here are some concluding words of wisdom. The purpose of life is not to be as happy as we may all think. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, and to have it make a difference that you have lived and lived well. The human race is a monotonous affair. Most people spend the greatest part of their time working in order to live. And what little freedom remains from all of it fills them with fear that they seek out any and every means to get rid of it. It does not matter how long you're spending time on this earth, how much money you have gathered, or how much attention you have received. It is the amount of positive vibration you have radiated in life that matters. You were put on this earth to achieve your greatest self, to live out your purpose, and to do it courageously. A small change can make a big difference. You're the only one who can make our world a better place to inhabit. So don't be afraid and take a stand. My name is Dr. DanAmzallag, and you may all keep pursuing your amazing journey in life.